PC-based automation. So sometimes the PLC won't do it. I need a PC. Well, when does that happen? I want to draw your attention here to what I think is a very innovative product in our PC line, our NanoBox. And we have some examples of these on the back of the wall here. Completely sealed PC. And I can mount this in a variety of different options depending on my cabinet space needs. Completely sealed. And that's a full-blown PC that I can do control on and so on. And we have panel PC versions of those as well. But if we step back and we go, well, wait a second here, I'm using PLCs. When do I need to use a PC? What is the criteria? And in my experience, we found that basically applications where you need data collection or industrial gateways, sometimes they will push you into the PC, the need to use a PC. Where I have specifically seen it used was the vision systems, image processing and quality inspection, where there's a lot of data and you need it at high speed. In my time at Gillette, when they were banging out those fusion blades, 200, 300, even like 600 parts per minute, at the end of that line, when that vision system is running to make sure that all the blades look right, it's a PC that's handling that. That's not a PLC that's able to do that. So that's maybe some of the reasons why you would go to that. And what's new or special in our PC line? One thing I would say is that with this, we have this IPC 547-E, and you go, oh, wow, that's a really, really cool name. Why should I care? You care because this is the first industrial computer with the new 4th generation Haswell Core i7 processor. So what does that mean? That gives you 30% increase in performance. You can, of course, do increased productivity by running up to 4 parallel processes. So this really just makes it faster. And the point here, automatic backup and restore. And of course, the full line, and we have our PC colleagues in the back room here, and we have the different PCs, the different ranges on our wall back there that you can, and I actually meant to say this earlier, please take the time for the breakouts, which I see you doing, and at lunch, to talk to the Siemens colleagues and look at this hardware at the back, because it's here. You can, any of the questions from the drive, the networking side, all of the guys in the back of the room can help you with that. But the point with our PCs is that this new Haswell 4th generation controller, we will innovate all of our PC-based lines, either our box, our IPC panels, our IPC racks. They will all be innovated in this fiscal year with that new 4th generation Haswell controller. Now, WinCC SCADA, we talked about the data. At the beginning, I showed you the one machine. That's great. Well, what if you've got a factory and you've got more than one machine? And you need to get the data out of those machines. And basically, these next couple of slides is just really for you guys to understand the software and the capabilities we have to help you with that data management. So with any SCADA system, the key is data transparency and increasing the productivity and quality. Okay, and our Somatic WinCC, that is our HMI software product. And this picture, I think, shows this well as far as when you think about data, what do you have to worry about? So basically, from the plant up, all the way up to the different levels of engineering and management and the different ways that the data has to be presented, you need an engineering system to help you do that. So from archiving, visualization, data compression, to analysis for key performance indicators. So our WinCC software products can help get that information to you. So from any SCADA system, because if it's one thing, if it's just a single machine and you're using, just a comfort panel and that software then just for the one machine, but once you get up into a full plant, you need these features for long-term archiving of data. Flexible alarm configurations is a big part for the SCADA world, and then the data analysis. So what we have with the WinCC software, we have a very powerful graphical editor where you can very quickly configure the different screens you needed, face plates, libraries, and so on to reduce the engineering like I talked about earlier, just like in the code. It's the same for the HMI. Some of the new features then we have, of course, with the our IPCs and our WinCC, we have the two-hand operation. So I can push a button with one hand and do some scrolling or control with the other hand. Okay? That's available. That's a very, very powerful feature. And then, of course, with any of these high-level SCADA applications, communication to third-party drivers. A colleague asked a question earlier. We have a lot of different protocols and OPC communications available so that we're collecting. The whole thing about the WinCC and SCADA is just data. Getting the data, archiving the data, managing the data. IT needs it, engineer needs it, and so on. And so this tool is really, that's our optimal tool designed for this. And this screen just shows another key part, alarm handling. Thousands of alarms that we need to be able to handle and archive. Okay? So we have a SCADA solution. Then distributed I/O. Very quickly here, I want to show you could say, well, what's so special about your I/O? Well, if we look at this very short video here, we can see our ET200MP I/O that goes with our 1500 family. That, of course, has the extremely fast backplane bus that we mentioned earlier. And then, of course, we have on the back of the room here and up here in this kit, our ET200SP I/O, our new range of distributed I/O, where we have reduced the footprint by 50% down by eliminating the power module and 16-point I/O for high density and easy to use because of push-in technology. You don't need a ferrule for this. Push-in technology for make it toolless operation for the wiring. So our distributed I/O, very, very simple. 50% reduction in space, really fast performance because of the backplane speed, and easy to use with simple push-in terminals and wiring. So that's high level what the I/O can help you with. And then safety. Safety, of course, is a very, very important thing. And so where do we help you with that? And Siemens is, we believe, the global leader in safety applications. So what offering do we have for safety? Controllers, our fail-safe I/O modules, and my drive colleague will talk soon about the offerings we have with that, and in the engineering. But I want to draw your attention for a moment to the 1500F, which will be available 6-7 weeks or more, very, very around the corner. And look at the display. And you would think, well, how can that display help me with safety applications? And many of you have done safety applications where you had to go through a validation process, right? Print out your safety code. What is the safety signature? When was the last time it was modified? How do you know it's safe? How do you know it's really, really safe? And so we will display this on the front of the display, your signature, the last date and time that it was modified, and the safety mode is enabled, right? Because we can run our CPUs standard or safe. Many times they buy the safety CPU, just do their standard code, make sure they got that working, and then at a later time enable the safety code, and then that's so we can display all that right there. And an example of this was, I remember the time at Gillette, they had a safety officer, and she said, well, how do I know that machine is safe? Oh, it's got a yellow sticker on the front. It's got to be safe, right? You want to be able to show them and say, well, let's walk up, let's take a look, let's look at the display. It's right there in the front. I don't need a PC to go online and read that out. And if it matches my offline printout, it's good. No one's changed it, okay? So safety is definitely an important feature that we see more and more. And then, of course, full range of modules as far as, the wire break, short circuit protection, and so on, discrepancy in the I/O. And then definitely in the engineering. When we added the safety programming part into the TI portal, it was not just a patch. This is wherever it's absolutely clear what is safe. Safe tags, safe devices, safe programming block. And so, there's no confusion as far as working with the safe or the standard program. And the workflow is very, very similar. You don't have to learn something brand new. Oh, it's a safety PLC. How do I program this? Create the block, the tags, the IOs, it's all the same. And then finally here, before I pass over to my drive colleague, is just Siemens was recognized as the Smart Machine Safety Networks Company of the Year in 2013, and we won that award in 2011 as well.
Okay, my name is Jim Hermitet. I'm a regional drive and motion specialist, and hopefully out at the end of every PLC is a drive and a motor. So I'd like to talk to you guys about that. We have a complete source of drives, or complete range of drives that cover most every application you can think of. Energy efficiency in terms of regeneration and some energy efficient functions are built into the whole drive family. We can do continuous motion, discrete motion. simple pump applications, point-to-point moves, process applications, machining. We kind of divide up the whole world like that, and we have a range of drives that meet all those type of applications. I know a lot of the people in this room, and pretty much you cover every gamut that's in here. Point-to-point moves, conveyor systems to warehouses to conveyors. And these rack systems are pretty interesting to watch. Any kind of web process. I know we got some web people in here. Any kind of converting, coding, printing, glass making, one of our favorites. And we do the machine tool applications also, anything that makes wood chips or metal chips. So we have a complete range of solution I'll go through. We can start at the very basic general purpose drives, conveyors, fans, pumps, to motion control servo to very large drives. One of the key themes that Colin had in his product will continue on this product. Every one of those is made by Siemens. Nothing is name branded. We control the life cycle of the product. So when you have a product and you need to know where it is in obsolescence and how long it'll be supported, Siemens controls that. So let's just go a quick overview of the product range we have. In the general purpose arena, if you just need a simple drive to be connected by I/O and an analog input, we have that. If you want to go on to the TIA portal and a network, we have sensorless vector and closed loop vector drives in a general purpose. Very high power density. Also, all the energy saving is integrated in there, including regen on a general purpose drive. For positioning applications, so this would be any kind of web processing, any kind of complex machine that needs gearing, camming. We have a servo drive that can do servo, vector, volts to hertz. Same drive, you just change a parameter to tell it what kind of drive it's going to be. Also, we have an integrated web server on this, so if you need to do remote diagnostics, you can get in over the web. If you need distributed drives, if for some reason you need to put a drive out near the process, we have IP65 drives. We have NEMA 12 fan and pump drives you can hang on the wall. If you need to mount your motor and drive, if your machine requires that, we have distributed drives in a servo format. Contrary to rumors, DC is not dead. One of the themes Len talked about at the very introduction of the money that Siemens spends on R&D, we're still spending R&D money on DC drives. We're going to continue to keep that product fresh. All the features and dynamics are incorporated into that drive. Parameters look the same. Once you learn one Siemens drive, you learn them all. You may build your own panels if you're an OEM. If you're a user, you may want us to deliver a drive in an enclosure. All these drives come with an enclosure option, including low harmonic energy savings drives, regen drives. What's also very nice, if you are have multiple locations around the world, we can build those drives as both IEC and NEMA standard, so you're managing the same drive, same part numbers around the world. Also, your engineering and maintenance people have one thing to learn. Now, this should look very familiar because Colin just covered it. If you see the safety here, it looks exactly the same as the safety that Colin just covered. We've always had, since the beginning of the Synamics product line, over 10 years ago, we've always embedded safety. And this is the reason we're here today, is actually to talk about TIA Portal. And the very nice feature is the drives now, using the Start Drive software, just become another object in the TIA Portal. They're just like an HMI or an I/O device. Now you have a drive, and we use a tool that is embedded in TIA Portal, has the same look and feel, So now you can configure your drives. You have the same data sets as the TIA portal. Everything should look the same. And you have the same diagnostic capability. You can seamlessly get that out onto the HMI devices. And what I think is really cool is you can take your alarms, take your warnings, take your status, and put it out on that little PLC screen. I think that is really a pretty neat feature. Now, if you are building a machine that needs a lot of complex motion, camming, gearing, high-speed applications, we have a product that combines both motion control, drive control, and automation, essentially all in one box. It comes in a couple different flavors. You can buy it as a PLC-looking device, integrated into the drives, do it PC-based device. And what I like with this, and what I tell people, I tell my wife, she drives her crazy. If we go in the grocery store, the kind of machines you would use this on, the grocery store is a great example. You walk in, you look in any bottle, there's a very good chance that bottle was made on Samotion, a very good chance. You take the label material that goes on the bottle, so you're doing a converting line. Very good chance that was made on a line using Samotion, using dozens, if not 100 axes. You put printing on that label. Narrow web printing, we've got a lot of narrow web printing applications. You put the bottles in a carton, the carton machine, the packaging, the kind of the thing we started out with. A lot of those are done with Samotion, so that's the kind of stuff. I could go into, go to the car dealership, yeah, the cars, all the parts are made, or not all of them, but a lot of them with Samotion. But you get a complex machine, that's where we would apply this product. Well, you take a drive, you got a PLC, that's hooked to the drive, now you got to hook the drive up and make it do something. We have a complete range of motors. Again, you're going to have the same theme as Colin discussed and I discussed with the drives. We have a complete range of product. Siemens makes the product. We own the life cycle and can manage it. We optimize the motors to go with the drives, servo drives, any kind of vector application, induction motors, and one of the really neat features on the servo and high-performance induction motors, we have electronic nameplates. You can upload the data directly from the motor into the drive, and it'll parameterize and do the initial tuning for you. So there again, there's the kind of the range of motors from a very simple general-purpose induction motors that you see every day, up through servo motors, and we'll go and discuss it a little bit, torque motors, linear motors, DC motors. There's the kind of general purpose NEMA motors you'd see. If you need a custom motor, if you need something really weird that no one's ever done, some odd speed, or it's got to be water cooled or down in a submarine, chances are we can do that. NEMA motors are made just down I-71 in Cincinnati. You want a DC motor, we're still making those to match the drive. DC drives, we're still making them. For the machinery builders, you're probably going to be in this arena. These are high-performance induction motors, wide power range, low rotor inertias, different cooling options. If you want a water-cooled motor and you need real high power density, we can do that. We can sell you a water-cooled drive to go with the water-cooled motor. Again, all optimized for Synamics drives. If you need a servo motor, we have a high range, high dynamic performance. If you need a specialty like a high rotor inertia for a spindle drive, we do that too. These things are very interesting. Torque motors, if you for some reason need a lot of torque, and I'm hundreds, if not thousands of foot-pounds, and you need that at very low speed, basically you want to replace a gearbox with a direct drive motor, you can do this with the torque motors. We're replacing the whole gear train on big mechanical presses. For servo presses, get rid of the flywheel. We do that directly with the torque motor. If you need linear motion, we have a complete range of linear motors. So basically, quick summary, we've got one drive family. It'll integrate into the TIA portal. We think we're a global leadership in energy efficiency. I know at the user level that's very important. We have a motion control platform that's very diverse in the applications it can do. And we have a complete range of motors that integrate into the drives and can basically do any requirement that you could possibly think of. Any questions?
Yeah, we're opening the floor up for questions now. We actually got a little bit getting back on schedule here. How many people in here use servo drives on applications? Pretty much everybody anymore. You're seeing a lot of servo drive applications out there. But kind of the nice feature that Jim had touched on was our TIA portal integration for our general purpose drives, which is available today, where we're actually doing speed and positioning control with our general purpose drives all in the PLC. So it's very, very intuitive and very, very interesting, and operationally wise, it's very cost effective. So if you need applications where you don't need the performance of a servo, and you still need to do some rough positioning, you have the capability of doing variable frequency drive directly into the 1500 and have the 1500 actually be the motion controller for those systems. You want any comments on that, Jim?
Yeah, it's a great way to do a cost-effective system.
Absolutely. Any questions throughout the group? Does a 1200 do motion? Yes, 1200 does do motion. Currently with version 3, which is released today, it does step and direction. So basically we get a step and direction pulse width output, or pulse train output, and a direction output. There is work. It's in the pipeline to go ahead and take that so that it will be able to do Profinet servo control also. But currently today, you use step and direction, or you can, if you manually program it, you can control servo drives, where the servo drive, you'd just be feeding it the position and the speed that you wanted to go to, and a start or stop directly into the S drives. So there are ways around doing motion, even on Profinet today with the 1200.
Yeah, all the S drives can do fairly complex motion embedded on the drive, and that's part of what you get when you buy the drive. There's no additional feature you have to buy to get that capability.
Any other questions?
Our goal here, guys, is to make this as interactive as possible. You know, just sometimes give you the brain dump. Go ahead.
I didn't see a lot of details of how that works on the TIA portal side. How does that relate back to what we used to see in something like Scout or Starter?
Okay.
Question was how does you used to use Scout? Are you currently using Scout for some motion applications with the Motion D? And you're wondering how that relates to the TIA portal? Jim, can you want to comment on it?
Yeah, we're today on a G drive that embeds directly into the TIA portal. You can route through and do all your applications on a G drive. The next version of TIA portal was at version 14. You'll be able to route through and talk directly to the S drives on the Scout and Samotion. Right now, you can use that with the TIA portal, but we'll have a separate project than your TIA portal project, but the two can talk together.
Yes. Yeah, so right now, if you're using Motion D, you're still using the Scout product, but you do have interconnections into, let's say, the Comfort Panel HMIs through the TIA portal. So until Scout is actually integrated directly in the portal, it still will be a separate package. Start drive is integrated now.
Starter for the TIA portal, so you'll have all the same functionality. Actually, it's enhanced when you go to Start Drive. It's a very nice tool.
Yeah, that's one of the live demonstrations we actually do. We'll take these demo systems here, which comprise a 1500 PLC, a Comfort Panel HMI, some distributed I/O, and a G120 drive. And literally, once you've done it a few times, you can literally take from bare nothing to actually having control of the drive and being able to move it in 20 minutes. That's complete configuration of the PLC, HMI, and the drive in about 20 minutes. So it's very, very impressive how this integration works together between the drives and the PLCs and the HMIs.
My name is Anand Edke. I'm the networking consultant for Siemens. So what does that mean? I'm responsible for all your networking products, right? Your power supplies, your switches, your wireless routers, your HMI wireless mobile panels, your RFID code readers, which my colleague back there represents. Anything to do with your infrastructure. How important is infrastructure today? Extremely important, right? If I have a 1500 PLC and it tied up with a Best Buy patch cable, well, I'm reliant on that patch cable for that entire system to work. So my goal here today is to talk to you briefly about what Siemens can do to improve your infrastructure, to make it more reliable, to increase your bandwidth. Why do we need more bandwidth today, guys? Let's make it attractive. Come on. We've all been sitting in our chairs for a while now. Why do we need more bandwidth? To get more data, right? Why do we need more data? To make decisions faster. Why do we need to make decisions faster? So that our competitor across the street is not as fast and productive as we are. More money at the end of the day. Isn't that sweet? Cool. Let's look at Profinet. Why is Profinet called the leader in an automation network? The key word there is automation. Why is it the leader in automation network? We all spoke about the TIA portal today. The TIA portal, if it can do drives, HMIs, PLCs, you name it, why cannot it do networking products? Well, here it is. We now introduce to you the Scale-In portfolio, the switches, the wireless, the mobile solutions, the remote connectivity, and our power supplies. Think of your big project. You got your pieces together. Now we need to network them together. If I can do it without stepping out of my one screen, that is cool. That is where the Siemens networking product portfolio falls into the TIA portal. Make sense so far? Good. Briefly talk about Profinet. How many of us use Profinet? Quick show of hands. Okay, good. Good. Quite a few users. The reason why I call it the complete network or complete protocol for automation systems is stuff such as safety, wireless, okay, open standard. It is an open standard. If you think of Profinet and you think of other protocols out there, it's nothing but an Ethernet protocol flowing across the very same wire, giving me the very same data that I can get. What makes it better? What makes it efficient? What makes it flexible? I'll touch on those topics in the slides coming up. Okay? Let's look at this example. This here is a real-life example of one of our customers who had these individual automation zones or automation cells. And his business kept growing. He needed to add more machines. He needed to be a little more productive. He needed to expand. So in order to do that, well, he really liked what he had. He just needed to expand. And he was using a field bus in the past. Well, if it's a field bus, well, my expansion capabilities are limited. Right? I do not get the diagnostics. I do not get the flexibility that I can get. So what he did was he expanded his automation cells, kept his key components intact, tied it up to a central PLC, which, by the way, he spent a lot of time to code that central PLC, make sure it can work with the automation cells down below. He spent a lot of time doing that. He really did not want to spend that time on these individual zone PLCs up here or down there, right? So we've all heard of iDevice today, shared device, where the PLCs talk to one another seamlessly, sharing the same code. That's what he did. He tied up his individual PLCs up to a central PLC. He used iDevice to have the very same code talk to his various automation zones. No separate programming was required. It was highly scalable and an expandable architecture. He could keep on increasing as long as he needed to. And data was available throughout the production line. So that was the horizontal integration aspect of it. Let's look at another aspect. Here's an user who needed to integrate his systems upwards, vertically, to his MES systems, to his ERP systems, right? How did he do that? This particular user, it was an OEM which had a very complex process. These hybrid car batteries, he used to make those hybrid car batteries. And he was using a field bus to do that. The problems with these batteries is the manufacturing process is so complex that everything has to run as expected. A slight deviation in the ingredients or the chemicals that go into the battery manufacturing can cause a recall 5 years down the road, and we certainly do not want that, right? So because he was using a field bus, well, fine. I start my process step 1. It ends in step 10. Hey, what happens step 5 or 7? I have no idea. All right. That's what he was doing until he got hit with the recall. So with going Profinet or going Ethernet, he was able to tie these up to his MES systems, to his ERP systems, and get real-time monitoring, real-time quality control, which in turn saved him time, money, and a lot of headaches. Okay? So that's vertical integration, connecting the enterprise to the plant floor. Now, with the enterprise switch, you have things such as security appliances and VPN tunnels. Very often, if you're connecting from an office environment to a plant network, what are the things we are concerned about? Hey, I need my plant network to be a little separate. I need it to be isolated from all kinds of malicious stuff that can go in there, right? So for that, I need VPN tunnels. I need security down to, we call it defense in depth, down to that particular zone or that particular area, which I am pretty sure can be encrypted and locked down when it comes to keeping my ingredients or recipes or my code intact, right? So security appliances and VPN tunnels, better access to data leads to better decisions. And you go vertically and horizontally. So if you think of it from a field bus perspective, those weren't possible in those days. Today, Profinet has advanced to the stage where we could do that. Now, show of hands, who knew Siemens has a comprehensive industrial Ethernet infrastructure portfolio? How many of us think of Ethernet? Or these devices, or these little things that connect my comfort panel or my $10,000 HMI or everything that goes in between them? How it always seems to be an afterthought. Hey, now cool, now I got all these things, now I need to connect these together. So now guess what I do? I jump in my car, go to the local Radio Shack, buy my pieces of cable, connect them together, right? And then if one of these devices do not seem to work as planned, guess what? All of these devices have these LEDs on them. Out of human nature, we look at these LEDs and say, hey, the LED is not blinking, the device might be bad. Well, fine, we wait for a new component to come in, swap it up. Again, that LED isn't working. Well, have you tried pulling up that patch cable? Have you tried looking at our connector, a little RJ45, which wiggles back and forth? Have you looked at the switch that's supporting these applications? That's why this infrastructure piece is so critical. It's so important to what we do. And based on that, Siemens has developed this comprehensive range of wireless portfolios, Ethernet switches, and security. Going back to this comprehensive range of industrial networking products, we got stuff from the field level, my little unmanaged switches. I know there was a question about unmanaged switches back there. We have got a comprehensive range of standalone switches, not only from the field level, but up to my management level, which are heavy-duty backbone switches, which have up to 4 10 gigabit ports and a gigabit backplane throughout. Why do I need those speeds? Hey, if I'm the guy responsible for the entire plant, I do not want data to be a bottleneck or bandwidth to be a bottleneck to my ever-expanding or ever-increasing or ever-evolving network. Okay? So that's a complete range of industrial networking products. Layer 2, Layer 3, switching or routing, you name it, combined with wireless. Here's a This slide here really gives you a perspective of what wireless can do today. Okay, I'm tired of talking. When we look at wireless, what were the first thoughts that came into our mind when wireless first came out for industrial control? Interference, security, bandwidth, reliability, availability. I don't see those wires. How the hell do I know if that stuff is working or not? Right? And those were good concerns. Well, today, gone are those myths. Is it reliable? Has a bandwidth? It has been used for industrial control over a wide variety of applications. If you go to Disney, you'll notice a few rides are using the Siemens R-coax over wireless. Okay? It's a wireless connection with safety. So if you think of if a user such as Disney can implement safety over wireless, why can't we? Right? So that's the extent to where wireless has gone. So this slide here gives you a complete perspective of what wireless can do for you. Wireless gantries, wireless control. I need remote connectivity. I need streaming video. I need RFID. I need building-to-building communications. Where would I use wired, and where does it make sense to use wireless? Sometimes when I ask these questions, I get two kinds of responses. Well, I'll use wired where I can. If it's a pole going up 10 feet or 10 meters, I'll try and use wireless if I can, right? Some guys come back and say, a wired connection, look, I know what's going on there. I'll rather have a wired connection. So if something fails, all I do is replace that cable. I don't have to log into a wireless access point or client to troubleshoot the network. On the flip side, I know where that cable is going. If I'm a disgruntled employee in my last day of the job, and I want to hack and I want to break down the entire production floor, I know exactly where that wire is going up to the server. Just disconnect that cable, walk out of the room. So you got to think about, where do I use wired, where do I use wireless? My point is, Siemens has solutions for both wired or wireless. Okay? Everyone's heard of the 802.11n wireless devices, right? What's different in industrial 802.11n? It's the bandwidth. With industrial 802.11n, our devices back there go up to 450 megs per second. So each of these antennas, each of these radio streams have 3 antennas on them. Each antenna does up to 150 megs of a spatial stream between two devices. 450 megs per second. How many of us have high-speed internet at home? All of us. What are the speeds that we get? 12. And what did we subscribe to? Probably 60, right? Or whatever it may be. Well, I'll be lucky if I get 17, 18 megs per second. So if I'm streaming video, fine. 17, 18 megs is fine. I can stream one stream. Take that into perspective versus 450 megs per second. That's where we can deliver safety over wireless, real-time over wireless. I can have multiple cameras streaming the very same data or different data in various locations all at the same time without creating a bottleneck to all my other wired solutions back down there, right? That is where industrial N differs. And we got a comprehensive range. Now that said, the N frequency from Siemens is also backwards compatible to your existing ABG frequencies. Okay? What does that mean to you? It essentially means that tomorrow, if you need to expand, you need to increase production, you need to move from one facility to another, and you have an access point today that does ABG, but guess what? It doesn't do N. If I were to install an N radio, I can be backwards compatible and not worry about all these various frequencies 5 years down the road. I can fine-tune it to B or G or to 2.4 gigs whenever I need to. It saves you cost, saves you the cost of replacement of a device just because new features have come Make sense so far? Now, security is a topic that we can talk about for days and days. It really is. When you look at security, well, what are the products that Siemens has to offer for us to provide defense in depth, or to prevent the man-in-the-middle attack, or prevent little malwares or viruses or Trojans that can get into our devices using these USB ports? How many of us have devices in our existing facility that have USB ports on them? When I say devices, control pieces of equipment. Not one? Oh, wow, you guys are good. All right, all right. The reason I say that is if you walk around the back room, you'll notice that none of our control pieces of equipment have USB ports on them. And the reason is obvious. Now, that said, how do I troubleshoot a system, right? Sometimes USB ports, the reason why they're convenient is I can transfer data seamlessly, and if stuff fails, then I can get it up and running again. With the Siemens portfolio for the networking products, if you flip the device over on the back, you'll notice a little media module slot. Siemens calls it the C plug. That's a little media module that, fine, I need to monitor, I need to configure an Ethernet switch. I assign an IP address, I set my ports, it's working fine. Now I go install it at my facility, and that machine ships to someplace else. It got my configuration on it. It was working fine when it left. Now guess what? This guy calls me and saying, hey, I can't talk to it. Well, then I'm scratching my head going, has he changed the IP address? Has he changed the port settings? You know, what's going on? This little media module plug stores the configuration of that device locally. All right? What is the advantage to that? It's reducing downtime, making it more efficient, making it more flexible. 3 o'clock in the morning, stuff happens. And I have the local maintenance guys walking around, and production is down. Do I really want to get out of bed and go to the office and troubleshoot a network? Not necessarily. So I would rather have that guy pull out the C plug, which stores the local config of the device that was working fine before I left, replace that device with an entirely new similar switch, plug in the C plug, and I'm up and running in no time. Those are the advantages when we talk about industrial communications. So going back to security, we have an entire portfolio for not only being secure, but at the same time being flexible. All right? Wireless over secured PLC to PLC communication, operator stations, firewalls to protect access, VPN tunnels, security communication cards, CP cards that slide seamlessly into our S7-1500s or most of our PLCs. Okay? Now, would everything work without power? Wish it did, right? But it doesn't. So when I talk about power supplies, what does Siemens has to offer? Wide range of single and three-phase power supplies. DC UPS modules with solid-state protection. Right? Various form factors. Here's what's new. The UPS, which, by the way, is also built into the TIA portal. Why? Because it has an Ethernet port. It can have either, you can have various options with an interface, with a USB, or with Profinet or Ethernet. Okay? The reason why I'm telling you this is it doesn't really matter when it comes to switches or power supplies or wireless. If you are an Ethernet IP user, stuff from Siemens will still work. They are seamless to both Ethernet IP. Wireless is nothing but TCP IP traffic. I really do not care what PLC I have, what vendor I have, and power supplies, right? So in case you're looking at, Siemens has some pretty cool stuff. Let me think about them for a minute. But at the same time, let me start getting in products which I can seamlessly integrate into the TIA portal. Let me check them out if they work fine. And here's an option for us. Right? Make sense so far? Any questions, guys? Any questions? Networking, wireless?
Floor's open for questions. Any questions? I know we had to go through those again pretty quickly because we're trying to get a lot of information in a very short period of time. But some of the key things to remember, just like Anna was saying, is the fact that the networking component products do support Profinet, but also support standard Ethernet, Modbus TCP, Ethernet IP. It allows you to choose one choice of product to cover all your Ethernet network needs. Anybody in here, I think that a few people are using Profinet, correct? Okay. The key things is if you ever, who's using Ethernet IP? I got to ask the question. One, two, several. Have you ever had, now you mostly OEMs and users, but have you ever had a situation where you may have a drive go down or an I/O module go down and the steps you had to take in order to put a new device in that place? Do you typically need a PC to do that on the competitor's Ethernet network? Well, that's one of the big benefits of Profinet compared to the competitive networks. We have a quick device replacement. By utilizing the Scalent switches, which are what we call Profinet aware, you can actually set up in the PLC the topology of the network. So if any device on that network was to go down, as long as you replace it with exactly the same device, the PLC will automatically give it a name and IP address, so you need no PC to get that machine back up and running. And hopefully through all the conversations we've had today, all the presentations we've had today, you're seeing what the direction of Siemens is to reduce downtime for our end customers. Be it quick replacement of I/O, be it quick replacement of PLCs or HMIs. Any other questions? Any questions? I think we're getting ready for lunch now,
I
Colin?
think we're all really hungry
let me
now.
just, a little wrap up here. So hopefully you saw what we tried to show in the last 2.5 hours was just from a high level of perspective, this totally integrated automation, PLCs, drives, HMIs, networking. It's all if you take one of those things out, that machine's not going to run. So let's go back and revisit the machine we showed you today. And I'm going to highlight what are the common things across this whole totally integrated automation concept from Siemens. Safety. Safety with the PLC on the display. Safety across the drives. All of those functionalities there, common. Industrial security in the PLC, code protection on the ports, and all of the security switches that Anand mentioned. Industrial communication, Profinet, open industrial standard that is at the heart of our automation technology. Industrial data management, the SCADA system, pulling the data out, getting it to the right people, getting it in the right format, displaying it how, where, KPIs, and so on. And most important for me, in my opinion, diagnostics. Built-in system diagnostics that you do not have to write a single piece of code to decipher out what it's saying. A complete spectrum of automation components that you see in the back of the room that we're trying to show here in this machine. So everything from one vendor that can work seamlessly together, okay?
I think it was well worth our time to come over from Indianapolis, and I was really impressed with the presentation of the software, and the hardware, really the overall wall that you've got here, demonstrating not just the software, the portal software, but all of your different hardware. I think what would probably benefit us the most as a systems integrator is the global catalog, where we can develop once and reuse with future projects, especially where we have very similar projects. That's really going to come in as a big benefit for us moving forward, big time saving.